Welcome to Microsoft Excel 2010 Windows Environment and Elements, brought to you by Shiftkey Solutions, and I am Eric Ripley. In this video tutorial, we'll be covering the different elements that are within the Excel environment. First off, I'd like to start with the title bar. At the very top of our screen in Microsoft Excel, we have a title bar. Within the title bar, it'll tell you the name of the file you're working with. In this case, it's a workbook, along with the name of the program you're working with. On the left-hand side of our title bar, we have a small area here called the Quick Access Toolbar. This Quick Access toolbar by default has the Save, Undo, Redo, and the print preview has been added after the fact. That's in a different tutorial on how to customize this, but that's what this area is called, the Quick Access Toolbar. Below this area, we have our ribbon. Inside the ribbon, it's made up of a couple of elements, main areas. At the very top of your ribbon, you have your tabs. Right now, we're on the Home tab. We can go to the Insert tab, Page Layout tab, Formulas tab, and so on. On the far left-hand side, we have the File tab. This is new to Excel 2010. Excel 2007 had a Office button here, but it's been replaced with the File tab. This File tab is also named the Backstage view. If you click on this, it'll take you to the Backstage view. And you can do different things in this area. That's a separate tutorial. Let's go back to the Home tab. Now, within our ribbon, we have sections here. They're separated with this line here. And these sections are called groups. Each group has its own name. We have a clipboard group, font group, alignment group, number group, and so on. But the name of each group is always at the bottom of the ribbon. That way, if we're asked to navigate to a particular area of a particular tab ribbon, we can quickly identify what to click on if someone gives us instructions to go to that area. For example, if someone tells us to go to the Home tab, we're on our Home tab, and within the Numbers group, here's the Numbers group, click the comma style. Well, if I don't know for certain what the comma style is, I can cursor over each one of these and I get a screen tip. That's the accounting number format. Percent style. There's the comma style. So now with the screen tip, I can quickly identify what I'm looking for. Below the ribbon, we have our formula bar, and then on the left-hand side, we have our name box. Now, one thing that's not often covered in the review of Excel environment is on the far right-hand side of our formula bar, there's a little drop-down arrow here. If we click this, it'll expand our formula bar. In some very rare cases, I have seen formulas that take up more than one line, and that's where this comes in handy. So if I click it again, it'll collapse our formula bar. Now, one thing I haven't covered yet is a very useful button that helps us get back to where we're at. As a teacher, when I was teaching at a college, oftentimes students would tell me, well, Mr. Ripley, my ribbon is gone. If we look over here, we can see the ribbon is not gone. We have our ribbon tabs here, but we can't see our elements. If we click on any one of these, it'll come back, but if I click off of it, it'll disappear. It's called collapsed. Well, a quick way to collapse or expand this is to use this little button right here. Right now it says expand because it's collapsed. So if I click this, my ribbon comes back. If I click it again, it'll collapse it. Some people like to work in this view because it keeps it clean and uncluttered. Well, for the time being, we're going to expand it so we can see everything. Now, down in our work area here, we have our different cells. Okay, we can identify what cell we have active by looking at this and identifying the dark black border along with this little area in this bottom right corner. There's a little square there. I'll zoom in. If we look closely, we'll see a little square here. Do you remember the name of this? This is always a refresher question I like to ask my class. Well, that's called our fill handle. Now, another way that we identify what cell we have active is looking at our column headers or our row headers. And the highlight or shaded yellow column and the shaded yellow row will identify and cross-section the active cell. I'll zoom back out and continue our review. Now, if we look down at the bottom of our work area, we have our Worksheet Navigation buttons here. In some cases, I've seen, and you may have, 20 or 30 worksheets that you're working with. Well, if that's the case, they extend past this horizontal scroll bar, and so in order to navigate through those, you would use these buttons to navigate through them. And then, of course, our worksheets, and this little convenient button is to help us insert a new worksheet or a blank worksheet. At the bottom down here, we have our status bar. It tells us that we're ready right now. The status bar on the far right hand side over here will also indicate, then give you a summary of a count or average of a selection, and that's a different tutorial. But if I right click my status bar, I can see what's on right now and selected. Right now I have a count and an average. So if I did have a range of cells selected, it would give me a count of cells and also an average of what the inside those cells for right now. Okay, on the right hand side of this we have our view options. We have normal view right now. Then we also have page layout view and page break preview. Page break preview is the view that you would be in if you're modifying your header or your footer. And on the right hand side of that is our zoom level. I'm at 115%. If I click this, it'll bring up my dialog box here, and I can choose whatever I like, fit the section and or 100%, click OK, it'll zoom to that level. Now on the right hand side of that, of course, is our zoom slide bar. I can click and zoom in or out and so on and so forth. Now the split, and what that does is gives us two separate viewing panes, as it were, for the same workbook. And that's located right above at the top of the vertical scroll bar. If I come up here, there's a little button right there. It doesn't give me a screen tip as to what it is, but it changes my cursor to an up and down arrow. If I click this split button, very quickly I can, and I'm holding down my left mouse button, if I click and drag this into here, I can drop it anywhere I like, and when I do, it splits my screen in two separate panes, viewing panes as it were. So here is my active cell in this pane. If I look on the right hand side, I have a vertical scroll bar for that pane. Now down here I have a separate scroll bar. This can come in handy if I'm looking at a large worksheet. So to remove this, I just simply put my cursor on it, click and drag up, all the way up until it gets to the column headers, and it's gone. Now let me bring it back. An alternative to removing that is to go to our View tab, and then here in the Windows group I have a split button, and it's highlighted right now, indicating that it's selected or it's on. If I click it, it'll turn it off. Now it's the Select All button, meaning it'll select the entire worksheet. If I ever wanted to copy everything and paste it somewhere else, I can do that, and that's found right here in the top left corner. There's no screen tip for it, but if I click it, it selects everything. If I click it again or select column, cell A1, it'll deselect it. And then, of course, in the top right-hand corner of our Excel environment, we have the Close button, we have the Restore or Maximize button. Restore Down or Maximize. It says Restore Down right now because I am maximized. If I was in the Restore Down position like this, then it would be maximized. So maximize it. And then, of course, the minimize button. Now you'll notice that there's two sets of these. There's this and then there's this. Now these buttons operate the program overall. These down here affect the workbook I'm in. So if I go to restore down, it'll restore down my workbook. That way I can have multiple workbooks, maybe working side by side, open at the same time. Now if I maximize it, it'll return those buttons to right in here. I can minimize it. If I minimize it down, I'll notice down in the bottom left corner here, it's minimized it within Excel. So if I maximize it again, and then if I wanted to close this workbook but remain in Excel, I simply click this X button. It'll close that workbook but keep Excel open for me. Well, I hope this was helpful, and if you didn't know before all these different elements, now you know, and I encourage you to share this knowledge with as many people as you can to help them out, for that matter. And I've learned, if there's anything I've learned, it is that while helping someone else, you actually are reinforcing this knowledge for yourself. So there you go. Thanks for joining me, and don't forget to comment. Thank you.